So I put up a slide here. This is actually from my blog, and I'm supposed to talk to you about Twitter, and I really don't want to talk about Twitter. So, but it sort of is about Twitter, but I really want to talk about teaching and process and just some of the thoughts that I've had recently about changes in my teaching, and throw that card up in the air and see what y'all think. And I'll talk for a little while. I'll mostly show rather than tell. I'll show some things I'm doing, and then maybe if you have anything you'd like to say, see what you think. I actually, one of the things I do when I'm going to give a talk, or even sometimes a class, is I post my thoughts or my talk before I actually give the talk. I've been doing this for about 6 months now. I gave a talk last week, or was it earlier this week? Last week. You know, the whole hate graffiti thing on campus. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, someone asks you to talk, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta put my thoughts together about this. And one of the things I've been doing is using my blog to just organize some thoughts. I remember years ago when I first started blogging, and someone said, well, you're just putting out your incomplete, stupid thoughts. You know, this is just preliminary, incomplete. This is not academic. And I said, and I had to think about it. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting out my incomplete, preliminary thoughts, and that in that way, not only can I start to chew on it, but other people can start to chew on it and talk to me about my ideas for, say, giving a talk or a class or a research idea. And I start to get feedback from students, from friends, from other people in other countries, you know. And in that way, you know, I recognize that my ideas are not just occurring in this bubble, but in a vacuum, but that there are all sorts of other forces that are shaping what I think. So this is just, I started to toss out some of my ideas about the graffiti panel. I think I blogged that today. Yeah, you know, it was like that morning I threw together some ideas, because you have to organize your thoughts somehow. I'm curious how other people start to do that. So I knew I had to do this thing today on Twitter. So a couple days ago I started to throw some ideas out about Twitter and what do I want to say. And so I blog it. And then my students see my blog. Other people who follow my blog see my thoughts and get some feedback and more ideas, and that's kind of cool. And in the last couple of days I've gotten a number of ideas, and the conversation shifts. And actually, the conversation shifted completely away from Twitter to ideas. And I think as people who teach, and I know everyone in this room, and you're all teachers, and that really what we care about are ideas. That's what we're interested in. And yet there are all these pressures from the outside to change what education is that we're all worried about. You know, turning college into an elementary school or something, you know, these pressures we hear about. But really, we're interested in ideas. And I'll quote someone from this morning conversation that said, my goals are in the course description. That's, you know, I write this course description, and those are my goals. I want to, you know, those ideas, that's, you know, they all flow out of that. That's what I want to do. Why do they want me to write goals again in this sort of funny way? Anyway, what I really care about is ideas related to this semester abnormal psychology and autism. I'm teaching an autism seminar. I'm teaching 2 sections of abnormal psychology. All of my students are using Twitter. And so what I ask them to do is twice a week, I'd like them to tweet something related to the course material. It can be tangentially related, just some idea. You can link us to some material that you've discovered. let's see what happens. This is an experiment, right? Actually did it last semester too, but I didn't require it last semester. And so, one other thing before I show you the tweets is that the other thing I do is, so I have to talk about something, is I just start typing different ideas, and I even went to Peggy's office yesterday. I said, the secret revolution, and I'm just like obsessing about the title of the meetings, and I'm like, why is it secret, you know? And I'm like, and of course I started free associating Peggy, wondering why it's the secret. What's so revolutionary about being interested in ideas? And of course I thought of John Lennon's song, and I thought, I got to go back and look at the lyrics of John Lennon's music. I didn't, we all know you say you want a revolution, but do you really remember that? You say you got a real solution. Well, we'd all love to see the plan. You asked me for a contribution. Well, we're doing what we can. And, then there's that whole, but don't do this in a hateful or bad way. And somehow that resonated with me.
It's going to be all right, Larry.
It's going to be all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I worry, though. And I start this thing, I'm going to talk about how I've been blogging for 10 years, and then I thought, who cares? That's not relevant. And I start to work through, what is it that I really want to talk about? Ideas. I keep coming back to that. And so, okay, let me stop and show you the tweets. What's going on? And as I show you this, keep in mind that this is happening continuously, right? The students hopefully, hopefully Friday, hopefully every day, 7 days a week, the tweets are rolling, right? They're what they're thinking about related to class. So we'll go to Twitter. You all familiar with Twitter? 140 characters and...
That's so tough for me. Yes, when you don't have a good language, it's hard to get confined, and it takes me longer to get there.
You have to learn from you have to have a 16-year-old daughter to show you how to squeeze words down.
Yeah, I've never been good at it.
And speaking memes, that's, the kids know better than we do how to squeeze it down. The cool thing, and I tell the students who have never used Twitter before, think of it as like the status update on Facebook, which I actually rarely use. I'm Facebook incompetent, but they know that. They're all using Facebook, so they kind of get it that way. And then as they start to tweet, they get that they can make a link. This is actually a link that's been shortened using a bit string, so that you can fit it into the 140 characters. If your link is too long, you can shrink your URL. And they eventually catch on to those things. They also catch on to the hashtag. The hashtag, and they're learning that by using Instagram on their phones and stuff like that, so that it's not too foreign to them. But we have a hashtag for my classes, right? Meaning that all of the tweets are going to pile up in one place. Now, the cool thing about this is that not only do they pile up there, but they pile up in other places that I'm not going to see them, where people who are not even in the class are going to see them. And that's a cool thing, when people outside of the class start to see what we're doing and start to contribute ideas to the conversation. Oh, there's somebody Peter Strifolino Peter Strifolino's actually Paul Strifolino's who runs the Student Center. He's an artist living in New York, not a student here. So let's go to KSC Abnormal. This is my Abnormal Psych class, and you'll see what's going on. Now, some tweets are more interesting than others, and what I'll do before I go to class is I'll take a quick peek. This is a 5-minute peek. It's not a lot of time. and I will see which ones I think are really relevant to the course material at hand. If I'm going to talk about anxiety and panic, and we're just starting to, and here's a student named Bridget, and I apologize, I have 100 students this semester. I don't really remember who Bridget is, but Bridget has tweeted a link with some things about panic. Now, I'm already skeptical about the quality of her link because I can often tell in the URL when anything called escapepanicattacks.com I'm going to be naturally suspicious of. And this is great also because you can talk about the what's a good source versus, you want to be reinforcing to the students, but you want to get them to know what a really good source is. How to motivate unmotivated students. Sometimes students are just tweeting things that are connected to class. We've been talking about phobias in class, so here Holly Lutz, I haven't seen this yet. Maybe I have, I can't remember. It's talking about a fear of spiders. Are we born with a fear of spiders? Life science is actually not a bad source. And I can link, and I can bring this right up in class, and we can talk about how some fears seem to have natural evolutionary component. It makes sense that some people might be afraid of spiders, even if there are no poisonous spiders in New England. I don't think there are there. I don't know. Are there any poisonous spiders? Certainly in Arizona there are poisonous spiders. So people think.
There's some everywhere, but you don't die from the ones here.
Okay.
My sister's afraid of spiders. She knows everything. She always tells me about spiders.
She's afraid?
Yeah.
So now that the students are starting to talk about their own fears, I imagine Holly probably has a fear of spiders herself if she's pulled this out. And this is cool because you can start to talk about different aspects of phobias and which phobias respond better to treatment. And so I go into class, I know I'm going to talk about phobias, but little do I know that I'm going to talk about Holly Lutz's spider phobia. And now we can ask, Holly, is it okay? Do you want to share? Is that okay? Tell us, why spiders? And she will start to talk about her mother who screams at spiders and whatever. And we can use that to talk about spiders. In some cases, you get conversations going back and forth. Here's a conversation between Jennifer Hicks and Kelsey Nadow. And they're going back and forth. I love this. I don't know what it means, but Jennifer Hicks says to someone named Mara in my class, is my teacher magic, or is he using psychology to make me believe he's magic? I have no idea. I have no idea what she's talking about. It kind of makes me feel good, though. I will say I'm kind of on a bit of a high this semester, that I think things are happening in my classes that haven't happened before. So maybe she's responding to the energy level of the class. Let's see. Is my teacher magic? This is going on now. Rachel Christine has jumped into the. Is he magic? I don't know what they're talking about. How young is too young to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder? That's actually something we haven't talked about yet, but we're just about to talk about mood disorders. So this might be a good link here to talking about mood disorders. ADHD is a great one. They talk a lot about ADHD, even if I have talked about it recently, and we've been talking about diagnostic criteria. And this question of who can't relate. I always read the diagnostic criteria for ADHD. Inattention, impulsivity, hyperactivity. Start to read them. Do you fidget? Do you have trouble listening? And everyone goes, yeah, that's me. And we can talk about the subjectivity of diagnosis, the culture and politics of diagnosis, right? Why are we drawing the line right here instead of here? It's being decided by committees of people who are making some somewhat subjective decisions, and all of that just springs out of these tweets. wow, this child was put through an unnecessary diagnosis by his own mother, and returned David about the New York Times piece. That's all over the place. Let's see what else they
Oh
say.
dear, Emma's internship.
Where's that?
I know some of your students.
Oh, cool. New internship at Cheshire County Jail, interviewing all the crazy inmates.
Lovely.
Lovely. Ah. Lovely, right? I can tell you, Peggy, it gets a lot worse. And this is where, we have to talk to our students about leaving their digital footprint. They still don't get it. They don't get it. And I almost feel like I'm setting them up for, in some ways, for more trouble. They also need to understand Twitter's not Facebook. Facebook is somewhat contained, I think. Although I always worry about how contained it is. Twitter is zero contained. And let me tell you, I am too embarrassed, even though they're public, to show you some of my students' tweets. They are, imagine the worst possible thing, which is sitting there imagining right now. Right? It's so bad that I pulled a student to the side yesterday and I said, hey, this is up to you, man, but you want to go to you told me you want to get a PhD in clinical psychology one day. Do you think someone's not going to Google your name and they're going to find this and or a job, or you have to really watch your digital footprint, and it's awful. It's huge. It may even make some of you not want to do it, And then I feel like these people are adults. Why am I being so parental and giving them a lecture about digital footprint? Is this? You're not sure you agree?
No, I think it's fascinating questions. I think that I guess the reason to do it is because it's important information and no one else is doing it.
Wow. They haven't been told this in high school.
See, I think of it differently. I tell the students that they have to control their online persona. So it's not just about the digital footprint and just, showing a picture of them being drunk, but it's actually more, once you move on to the professional identity, what is it that you want to present out there? So it's almost like by design, so I approach it that way.
Yeah.
So how do you want to design that professional identity?
Well,
and using it, digital.
Yeah. What I hear from students when I talk with them about these things is they understand that because we all tell them, but what their interpretation is for some is just before graduation, you get a haircut, you buy a suit, or a good outfit, and then you take care of your online. You delete your accounts, or you, or you change your privacy. That's the message, and I think I can understand that, but as far as it being something that you don't do in the first place, I think that's where the disconnect is. It's just a different point of view. I think that we're at a time where people are merging all their different identities together,
Yes.
and we're asking them to do it, which is great. But as a result, we see whatever photo is there, we see all these things because we've asked to be part of their life in a different way.
Yeah.
That's not bad, but it's different.
It's different, and I worry. I'm very worried about
Well, don't you think, especially in your field, that people have the right to be adolescents? They have the right to sort of have that part of their life where they sort of misbehave. But the problem now is that part is public, is online, it's viewed to the world. And when it's true, I think part of getting a college degree is a bit of that rite of passage to adulthood, and so how do you, resolve that adolescence that happened also online now? It didn't used to, but now it does, and then make that transition to adulthood, online adult.
Yeah, I know. And I would just go to pound KSC. Oh, pound KSC is really interesting because you can see all it's the hashtag for Keene State College. And kids will post videos of themselves getting drunk at the bar and falling out of the bar. Interestingly, pound KSC is also the hashtag for the Kennedy Space Center. which is really funny because so all of the Keene State College tweets are merged with the Kennedy Space Center tweets. And I think it's going to be kind of cool because I think that actually, imagine the Kennedy Space Center people are looking and they're going, Keene State College, what is that? Oh, it's Welkowitz's students are talking about abnormal psychology. Oh, kids are getting really drunk and puking in front of the bar.
Well, it is an accurate representation of all the different things going on, right?
Yeah, I think I think something's. These guys are definitely, the Kennedy Space Center people are definitely reading our tweets. There's no doubt about it. In the same way I was doing in the early blogging days, John Udell, who lives on Roxbury Street, until a year or two ago, was the #1 Google rated John, J-O-N, in the world, if you put John into Google. #2 was Jon Stewart of The Daily Show. And tell me Jon Stewart didn't sit in his New York studio and say, who is John Udell from Keene, New England? Who is this guy and why is he ahead of me in Google? You
Why
know?
was he ahead?
Because John Udell had a bigger following, I think, at the time.
Well,
you know?
yeah, he's also
What does he do?
He's a big name in technology.
Oh,
He's
okay.
probably one of, at the forefront of innovation in technology. So I didn't know him. He was at the Secret Revolution last year. And so I got to know of him and everything. And actually it was funny because the guy who presented last year had a picture of John Udell, and John Udell was sitting over there, and I was doing what you were doing, so I had a shot of him in person, and then he was on the screen over there too, and it was kind of a cool shot. But yeah, so that's how I learned about him. But he's like, so of course, if technology geeks are like doing stuff, they'll go John Udell, so he gets more than,
Yeah.
you know.
That game's over though, because everyone's watching Jon Stewart online now instead of watching on their television sets.
Right.
The students all watch TV on their
Online.
computers. So everything's changed. So these are just a couple of other. Where am I? It's two. How many
You
more?
have another 5 minutes.
Okay, just a couple of other cool things that can happen. One is that I haven't done this yet, although it's starting to happen. The students all have cell phones and laptops. This is really interesting conversation. You know why? Because Peggy's department has banned laptops in the classroom.
Who did that? You did that?
I have to go.
I know you do. Oh, we can talk behind your
Yeah,
back?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. You can watch the video later. No, she has to really.
I really do have to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say
No,
that.
great. We'll show you the flip later.
Perfect timing.
No, I understand. It's annoying when kids are going like this under the table, or they're doing Facebook in the classroom. No, I understand the frustration, but here's an idea for Peggy when she watches the video, is that maybe there could be specified times during the class where you actually ask the students to pull their phones out and their laptops out, and let's take 5 minutes to tweet your reactions to some of the material that's being covered right now. And now you've got this on the big screen in the classroom. They'll scroll, right?
Yeah.
So they can ask questions while they're during a certain period of the class. They can post comments, links to things that they've been reading that might be relevant right there, right now in the classroom. And so the whole classroom then becomes this kind of involved place, and you can shift gears to talk about that. I just want to say one of the things I've been doing in class is I've been posting my lectures before the kids go to class. So on using VoiceThread, so they can go to VoiceThread, they can hear the lecture for the day. I already have done them for abnormal psychology. I have them compiled, you know, my lecture on anxiety, my lecture on depression. You see my face, you see my PowerPoint slides, and then I repeat the lecture. They're going to come and see the same lecture. And my preference is, I don't really want to do the exact same thing exactly like the videotape. Let's make this different. There's all sorts of new ideas. It's changing my thinking of teaching, but the jury's still out.
I had my students all bring their laptop, but then when I wanted to have control over the classroom, I say laptops down. So then once the top was down, I know they couldn't tweet. laptop's back up now. Now you
Nice.
could do it, and I just did it that way.
Nice.
And then once in a while, one time I did an experiment where it was a seminar, and I collected all the cell phone into a basket in front of the classroom, and I had one student who almost had a panic attack. She was too far, she was where you were, to the cell phone.
Oh,
But, you
yeah.
know, now I would actually say, everybody get the cell phone back up, back down, you know, I would actually connect that into
Oh,
using.
yeah, no, they're terribly
Yeah,
addicted.
yeah.
They're so addicted.